Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Tuesday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia. On the socials, go there, join the militia. Once again, some feedback. We are back, and we are here to talk NC State. We did do a show last week. We're testing out YouTube Live. It's lost somewhere, but it is there. So we are going to be doing YouTube Live. Fun. It was fun. I was totally lost, and I didn't have a clue what I'm doing, and I might not today. Chances are good, actually, that I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but we'll practice it and try it out. I'm at least committed for the rest of the football season.
Yeah, if you want to hear Sean sound very, very confused and me talk about stuff while he is very, very confused trying to fix stuff, then go ahead and look it up, Cuse Militia on YouTube. It'll say test run. I mean, there's a little bit there, but it's we should say that it's on an old Cuse Militia page. I must have gotten confused. Not on our page. No, it's not our page. It is our page, but it's not our page. It's our oldest one, yeah. But hey, kudos for getting it figured out, man. Because I'll tell you what, I can sit here, I can make fun of you about it because it was kind of funny, but it's also one of those things where I wouldn't be able to do it myself. So it's kind of one of those,
Well, I mean, to be fair, it is funny, but also all you do is show up and can't even get you to do it on time most of the time. So you've brought my expectation level down so low that as long as you're here, then that's my only requirement. That's it. That's how much you've dumbed it down for me. So anyways, YouTube Live and the Green Room, the Spotify Live app, both fan feedback segments for the previews and the post games. Like I said, we're going to be committed to that through at least the end of the football season, and we'll just try it out. So it's fun. If it works out, great. And if it doesn't, well, then can't say we didn't try because there was people asking for it. So I figured, you know what? Let's give it a run. We are going to start the show today before we get into NC State with a good chunk of the presser from Monday with Coach yesterday. And there's a good couple minute chunk in there with some things that I wanted to bring up anyway that we were gonna talk about. So we'll let Coach hit them up first, and we will be right back after.
So not only are you in the top 20, you're playing NC State, who's ranked in the top 20 in both polls. It's the first matchup between two top 20 teams here in Syracuse since 1998. What does that say about the excitement in the room?
I say that's a long time ago. That's a lot of excitement. That's a strange statistic, but we're excited to have the opportunity to play NC State. Coach Dorn does a fabulous job. This is an individual that I really like. I like how he's ran his programs in the past. He's a guy that's worked his way up. His recent job before NC State was Northern Illinois in the MAC, a team that I played when I was at Bowling Green State University. Have a lot of respect for him, and I like the way he does things. One thing that I will be telling the team this week, and I have told them, is that you're playing a football team. This is not a bunch of individuals. And they're also playing a football team, not a bunch of individuals. So it's going to be a fantastic test.
Coach, how would you describe, every football game is physical, but it feels like this team is really physical, and that's how they got through that game last week with their rusty quarterback. What pops to you on film when you see the physicalness of this team?
I think you're right on. This is 15 rounds heavyweight. It's going to be some slugs going out there. There's going to be some shots, and you're going to get hit really, really hard, and how you handle that's going to affect the game. And it's going to be everybody that's out there on the football field. It will be a physical contest.
With Devin Leary potentially out after suffering that shoulder injury, how much more kind of I guess, work or labor does that put on you guys to prep when you don't know who's going to be at quarterback there?
We got to prepare for both of them, and we have to assume that he's going to play. Any guy with that type of moxie, somebody that's been around as long as that kid has, if he's got an opportunity to step on the football field, he's going to do it. So it makes us have more work. It makes us have more work in a normal week. We didn't get to take advantage of having an extra week off because now we have to go back and do research on the other young man as well. But the way we're preparing is we expect him to be out there with the opening snap.
Hey, Coach, what goes into just the bye week in general? How recharged are you guys? Healthy physically? Just what was it like last week here?
Our big thing is you still have to practice, but the main thing coming out of a bye for me is two things. You want to come back as healthy as you can, and you want to come back as fresh as you can. But you don't want to be stale. You don't want to, hey, we didn't play a game this week, and I'm not going to jinx it like I've done before. So we need to make sure that we work hard enough that we get back into game speed really quick once the game starts. And hopefully we've done the things this week to make that advantageous for us.
All right, so, Joe, number 18, Syracuse, will host 15th ranked NC State in the Dome this Saturday. I think kickoff is set for 3:30. As you heard there with Coach, first time since 1998. I don't know who the gentleman was that asked him the question, but this is a great stat. First time since 1998 that two top 20 teams are going to face off in the Dome, and we all know it doesn't count unless you're in the top 20 for Coach anyway. So we'll get into a little bit of that. We'll let you know what we think about this game coming up, give you our predictions, and we'll hear from you as well in the fan feedback segment, giving your predictions, and we'll go over last week's. But look, they've sold over 40,000 tickets for this game now, and we've seen what around 30 can do, right? Your fingers quotes, and we've seen how loud they can get. So no doubt going to play a role. I think that's a lot of excitement around this program. I'm really, really happy for the team. I'm happy for the Dome. I'm happy for the team and the players and coach, obviously. But and so kudos to the city for showing out. And if we can push this thing 40-45, my gosh, it's going to be a nightmare for NC State, to say the least, especially if, as we expect, and we'll get into if Jack Chambers decides to get in on the action, right? So the all-time series between NC State and Syracuse sits at 13-2, all right? It's bleak. It's in favor of the Wolfpack. The two teams have played each other every year since 2013, the first meeting in 1972. The Orange's last win was in 2018, 51-41, the final score there. Syracuse fell to NC State in the last meeting, 41-17. Schrader went 8 for 20 for 63 yards and an interception. Tucker with 13 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown. Devin Leary, 17 for 20 for 303 and 2 touchdowns. So I expect this to be a little bit different of a contest this time around, Joe. The offenses with Syracuse in one less game than NC State. Total offense for Syracuse ranked 40th. NC State's total offense ranked 90th. Now, with one extra game, for NC State playing total defense, they're ranked 17th, and us one less game, obviously, we're ranked 10th. Okay? So, this team doesn't jump off the map to me offensively, although Devin Leary is obviously a huge a huge player, obviously, and a great athlete.
Yep.
But it's if he plays, which we don't really know. Okay, so we talked about first, the first time since 1998, two top 20 teams being in the Dome. That's fantastic. That's great. I was a year out of high school when that happened, so a long time ago. Joe, you were what? A junior? Were you a junior?
Oh God, 98, something like that. Sophomore, probably.
Sophomore. Yeah. Okay, all right.
McNabb versus Tennessee.
Yes.
T. Martin came in. Tennessee won the national championship that year.
Was it 17-10? 17, Syracuse was 17th, Tennessee was 10th. Is that what I saw?
Yeah, something like that, yep.
So anyways, my point is about bringing up the offense is that that was not my worry coming into this game. If you watched NC State at all this year, you realize how tough in physical their defense is. And by tough, I mean tough. They're really tough. And, you've got their leading tacklers are all their linebackers.
Yep.
And they have a hell of a linebacker core.
Yes, they do.
And Peyton Wilson, Isaiah Moore, and Drake Thompson. So Drake Thompson, Peyton Wilson. Thomas, yeah. Peyton Wilson and Isaiah Moore, they lead the team in tackles in that order. And I think Syracuse is going to be ready. And I hope they're going to be ready. But this is a game where they can get punched in the mouth quick if they're not. That's one thing that I'm worried about. That's my biggest concern.
And to your point, I mean, this is going to be the best defense that we are going to, up to this point, that we're going to play. And realistically, when you look at it, even when you look at Devin Leary to Schrader's stats, Schrader's very comparable with, something like 28 less completions and like close to 70 less throws. And I'm sure he's got more rushing yards and rushing touchdowns than Leary. So, and on top of that, NC State hasn't even had an 100-yard rusher this year. So it's their offense it's been difficult for them. They were really close to losing first game to ECU, and they haven't even scored 30 if you're not talking about playing against Charleston Southern or UConn. Right. So, it's all defense. And realistically, whether Devin Leary was healthy or not, or we're seeing Devin Leary or Jack Chambers, to me, it's all about how many points can our offense put up against their defense.
Yes, exactly. And their defense is tough. And I mean, Clemson put up 30. I think the final score was 30-20 in that game. And they held. Well, let's be realistic here. So you take out Charleston Southern and you take out UConn, they've averaged 21 points a game.
Yep.
Okay. Florida State with 17, Clemson with 30, East Carolina with 20, Texas Tech with 14. So, that's what it's going to come down to. I think it's going. Well, we'll get into what we think, but beyond that, you have to look at our defense. And our defense is pretty damn good, too.
Yep.
And especially if you're looking at a scenario for NC State where Devin Leary is going to be out for this game. So I went over to the...
Most likely.
Yeah. Well, they're looking at most likely if you go to Back in the Pack, which is the Wolfpack SB Nation site. They're talking about a couple of games, and NC State has a bye after they play us. So You're looking at about 3 weeks. Doran said it's day to day. He's fortunate that he doesn't have a worse injury or a season-ending injury even because of the damage that can be done when your arm is stopped in pure throwing motion, right?
Yeah.
Devin Leary, we've heard it. We heard everybody talk about it. There's no doubt. He's tough. He's going to grind, as Dave Dorn said. So there isn't a timeline. And Dave Dorn said it could be a week, it could be 6 weeks. So fans over at the SB Nation site are guessing about 3 weeks. Okay, 3 to 4 weeks. Doesn't need surgery, and it's not season ending, and that's what's important for the Wolfpack. But it doesn't look like he's going to be showing up to play in the Dome. So they also did this quick profile on Jack Chambers over there at Back in the Pack. He played in 32 games across 4 years at Charleston Southern. Okay, he threw the ball 915 times. This is all from then. He has over 5,700 career passing yards and 40 touchdowns, but he's got 29 interceptions. Also, I don't even think he threw the ball against Florida State. He did a lot of running. Once. Okay, what was it? I didn't even look.
Oh, God.
What a terrible host.
Dude, it was, and I think it was an incomplete pass. I mean, it wasn't.
Okay.
There's a reason why they ran for a quarter and a half.
Right. And, you just got to wonder, is he going to be ready? You know what I mean? Is he going to be ready for this defense?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at the stats, I mean, he did definitely play for, his freshman year, he didn't play that much, but sophomore through his, senior year, it was what it looks like, or at least redshirt freshman. Looks like he started it all 3 years. 2020, it looks like he didn't play the whole year, probably an injury or something like that. But when you look at 2021, his best year last year, he threw for 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he threw at a completion percentage of 55%. And that's in Division I AA. So,
and he throws a lot of interceptions, like I mentioned. I mean, he threw
17 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why he didn't throw. So, and that's at a lower level as well.
And he threw the ball once for an incompletion. You were right.
Yeah. I mean, I have a little bit of a theory a little bit later that I'm going to throw out there. Not going to say it right now. But
thanks for sharing. Appreciate it.
I mean, do you want me to? I can do it now.
No, you do it when the time is appropriate, Joe.
Well,
are you waiting for your prediction moment? Is that what you're waiting for? The big unveil?
Not necessarily.
Okay. All right, well, we can talk about it. You can bring it up later. So he's had some decent games. And like you said, we're playing at a lower level. He threw 300 yards 3 different times. 405 yards last year in a game. So it's not that he can't throw the ball. It's can he do it at this level, and can he do it? They brought him in for some experience, right? Devin Leary, not a stranger to injuries. So they brought him in for some experience.
Yeah, some rough ones.
Yeah, to see what he could do. And obviously an older guy, and you just got to worry about, I think the main thing is his legs. So. Oh
yeah, that's definitely the main thing. I mean, as far as Devin Leary goes, even if it's a situation, if he was in a sling and he was out of the game, right, and the MRI and the X-ray came back negative, I mean, it's still a situation where that's his throwing shoulder, and if it's some type of AC joint thing or some ligament thing where it's just bruised or inflamed or whatever it may be. That takes more than a week, and I just, like you said, they have a bye week coming up after us. And I mean, obviously it comes down to if they can pinpoint the injury and whether or not it's something that can be further injured if he plays, or if it's just, you can't injure it anymore. It's just a pain tolerance thing. I think that's what it really comes down to. So, but either way, even if it's a pain tolerance thing, like, I mean, I've separated my AC joint when I probably should have broke my collarbone before. And I mean, it's a pain tolerance thing, but I wasn't a quarterback throwing the ball. Right. Right. So, I mean, I know Dave Doran's, playing his cards close to his chest with his press conference. I listened to it and stuff, but there were some little things in there where you could kind of tell, like, I mean, it's probably slim to none. It's just something that he doesn't want to share early just to make us, kind of wonder.
Right. And you gotta imagine Coach knows this too.
Oh, he's done this before.
Yeah, exactly. So they're getting some guys back though, some important guys as far as their offense goes. Demi Sumo Kangbe, he's their leading rusher so far this year. He's going to be coming back. It looks like.
No, him and Devin Carter.
Devin Carter. Got hurt
in the Florida State game. So
Devin Carter looks like he's going to be back. He's their lead wide receiver.
Not going to be 100%, but they're good enough to play.
Trent
like
Penix,
I said, they got beat up the last 2.
Yeah, I mean, that was talk about physical games when you hear Brent Axe there asking Coach about the physicalness of this defense. There's both of those teams last week in that Florida State NC State game, both just extremely physical, just a freaking grudge match. And hats off to an NC State team to pull that off the way they did, and just kind of grind it out with pure toughness and just drive and motivation. So. They do have some good things going as far as their injuries go from last week, getting some of their main dudes back. But in Coach, by the way, it would be fair to mention that McDonald hopes to play. Tucker, obviously, we haven't. He seems fine. He's good to go.
Yeah.
Jaquez though out for the season. So.
Well, when they brought that air cast out there for his arm, that was kind of pretty much let you know.
Yeah. So, which brings me to the last point here, the bye week, and getting rested up, and being able to, kind of, not only rest up, but get refreshed, get a little bit healthy, come back. That's what the bye week's all about. You heard Coach mention, well, now we got to. This was yesterday too. Now we got to kind of prepare for 2 quarterbacks. I think they probably know who they're going to be preparing for now. And I'm not a coach. I don't know how to do that. I would be preparing for this defense more than anything. I'd be getting my offense ready.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to imagine that's where the focus there is going to be. So.
No. Yeah, I mean that's. I was talking to my dad earlier today, and it was the same kind of conversation where I said, it's a situation where we were probably game planning for Leary a little bit, but you get that first week where you probably let the kids get some freedom, kind of rest up a little bit while the coaches try to figure it out. But I mean, we've seen this defense. We know that this defense is going to keep us in games. So I'm going to use the word of the year at this point. Now that we are 5-0, it's the offense evolving. There's no doubt in my mind that those offensive coordinators, Jason Beck, everybody got together, looked at what has worked in the first 5 games, what hasn't, what can we add, who can come in and maybe get some more snaps, get some more targets. But there's got to be some things that they put together that NC State can't see on tape or hasn't seen on tape to kind of, evolve this offense into something a little bit better than what it has been. And it's been good. But these next 3 games, we're going to be playing against these 3 teams, these 3 defenses, might be the best 3 defenses that we play all year. Definitely 3 defenses that are better than any of the defenses that we played. And there's got to be some changes. We can't just show them the same old, same old. So, I mean, we have to evolve on offense. And I think that Tony White and that defense has got it locked in. They kind of change what they're doing compared to what they're working with. And whether Leary or Jack Chambers plays, I mean, I think our defense is going to play good enough to keep us in this game. Is going to be whether or not, like I said before, what is our offense going to do against that defense? Because that's a really, really good defense. And as far as another thing I'm going to look at too, I know that Schrader is definitely going to want to get this game back. You kind of said his stats from last year wasn't great. And I do remember, and I do remember Drake Thomas, that linebacker, stepping in front of a slant and taking a pick 6 to the house. So I can only imagine that him from Charlotte, just like Garrett Williams, the Charlotte area, that they're going to want to show out against NC State, especially considering the game last year. So there's a lot to look forward to, man.
There's a lot to look forward to, a lot on the line, a lot of hype. I think it's, as far as the our crowd goes and our fan base goes, it's a lot of pressure, I think, to go out here and make this a big deal because of the media hype around it. And maybe media hype, schmedia hype, right? Well, social media is all buzz. And every article you're coming across through all of the Syracuse websites are hyping this thing up. And that's just something to take in consideration, because if you win, it's a BFD, right?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is you look at it and you're like, okay, we're 18 playing against 15. We know we're only 18 because we're undefeated, right? So if we lose to NC State, who knows? We might fall out of the top 25. Maybe we don't, right? Still go to Clemson. We lose to Clemson, definitely falling out of the top 25. And the next thing you know, we might not even be talked about again. But we beat NC State. We become bowl eligible, 6-0. Who knows how many undefeated teams are going to be left standing after this week. And then next week, we'll probably be ranked in the top 15 going to number 5 or number 4 Clemson at Clemson. That's going to be made a big deal. Even if you lose that game, you hope you play them tough. Even if you lose that game, you're not going to fall out of the top 25 when you're top 15 when you lose to Clemson. So now you're talking about maybe Notre Dame's ranked. Maybe you got another 2 top 25 teams playing in the Dome again. So, I mean, beating NC State makes you relevant for another 3 weeks at least. And, I mean, nationally relevant. And that's, like you said, it's a BFD.
Yeah, there's no way other way to put it, right? I mean,
whether it's Jack Chambers or Leary, it's a BFD.
Yeah, absolutely. And one could only hope, that we get what we get and we do our best with it, regardless of what it is. and you got to think about.
This is what I think about.
You can't overlook a Jack Chambers.
You can't.
Okay, because you can't overlook anybody, and that's. I think this team's built different. I don't think that's even a possibility.
I hope, and that's the thing that's what I'm hoping. But this comes back to the point that I was talking about, right? And it's almost a perfect comparison when it comes to look at the NFL, Dallas Cowboys, right? Dak Prescott,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, they're throwing the ball down the field. They got some runs for the quarterback. They're doing some flashy stuff because Dak Prescott, he's good. He's got an arm. Well, they got two solid running backs and a solid offensive line, but they want to do this stuff because they got all these other guys, right? He gets hurt. In comes Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is 4-0 by them getting back to the basics, leaning on their defense, running the ball with their two running backs, their good offensive line, play action, making easy passes. Next thing you know, they dumbed it down. They made it simple, but because they have the talent, they're winning games. And that's the one thing that I'm afraid of because I almost see the comparison. When you look at Leary's numbers, I mean, he's just chucking balls. I mean, they have the confidence in him to take these shots and take these chances downfield. Well, if he doesn't play, then we don't have tape, and they're gonna scheme something up for this guy, and to be run heavy. They're gonna get down, maybe get 12 personnel with two tight ends. Mm-hmm. They're gonna try to run it down our throats. They're not gonna take a lot of chances down the field, and they're gonna try to make it ugly and make it win in the trenches. Take away our speed on defense, and let the talent kind of rise to the top. And, that's the one thing that I'm worried about with a couple teams still left on our schedule, but especially when you lose a guy like Leary and you say, okay, we can get to the bye week, maybe he'll be good. We just need to get this win against Syracuse. I mean, this might be the first game, like I talked to you about, fearing against teams that's going to line up and go 12 personnel and just shove it down your throat and kind of take your speed away. This is that type of situation. So we're not out of the doghouse, just because Leary doesn't play. This team is very talented. Their defense is very good. And if our offense doesn't put up points and they decide to play run heavy, we're going to just run the clock down and take possessions away from Syracuse and don't make mistakes type of game, then it could get real, real ugly. And at that point, anybody can win.
Yeah, that's the unknown is scarier than the known sometimes.
There's some people in NFL talk that are like, let Dak Prescott get 100% before you bring, because Cooper Rush Dallas is 4-0 with this guy, and they're just keeping it basic, using the talent that they have instead of, sometimes you get a guy with the big arm, that offensive coordinator wants to call some play, and you get away from the basic stuff of just nickel and diamond and running it down the field and tiring this team out. And plus, the Raiders, what a disappointment. I hang my hat on this Syracuse. I always hang my hat on my Syracuse teams, to be fair. But that was a tough game.
Who cares? You know what really sucked? Here's what really sucked about that game. Is I had Darren Waller, and he pulls a hamstring quicker than a hiccup. Then you got the guy I was playing. We were both 4-0, and he had Josh Jacobs. So,
that's fun.
Yeah, and I was up by 8 going into that game, and so and I have Taysom Hill on the bench who scored me 50 points. Well, didn't score me anything actually. Technically, didn't score me nothing.
I kind of fell bugged to that too, but yeah, I get it.
All right, that is going to do it for that.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, you guys know what to do. Every Monday afternoon, I ask for your final score predictions for the upcoming game. And this week, it was NC State. I do have access to my Facebook account. Look, I'm not going to tell everybody how I did it, but I did it. Okay? I can't give away all my secrets. But I will say this. That should never happen again. Because I have a backup and a backup to a backup. So we should
realistically, you should make me a backup as well.
You are a What are you talking about? You were the original backup. What do you mean? You stunk and you complained about it constantly.
I'm saying no, but I'm saying if you put me in as the admin, then you can just.
Oh, I think you are.
So this whole time you just could have made a new one, and I could have just.
No, you can't invite people to.
Well, then make me somebody that can invite some people.
Only I can do that. Only the profile that I was locked out of can do that.
Oh my Lord.
Anyways, I'm not a professional. I just play one in the Spotify Live app. And on iTunes and Spotify and whatnot. All right, let's start with. You know what? Let's do this. Let's start with. Oh boy, give me a second. Let's start with Facebook.
Totally unprepared.
Totally, man. All right, Robert. All right, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find ones that explain a little bit. That's what I'm going to do. And you guys know I like that. You got to give me a reason. You got to give me an explanation for your score. So, here's one. This is a quick synopsis, but it counts. Robert on Facebook, 34-24 Cuse. I feel our defense is better. Okay. Daniel. Here's a good one. I don't know if this is a good one or not. I say that because it's a lot of words, so they explain themselves. But I don't know if it's a good one. Daniel, SU Big, 34-10. NC State is coming off back-to-back games against Clemson and SU. That's true. And I believe they're missing their quarterback. That's a good possibility. And SU is coming in as rested as they will be all season. I can't wait to see what new schemes Anai puts in this week. Okay. Well,
that makes two of us for sure.
Yeah,
because I think I've talked about it the last two podcasts. I think it's going to happen. And another point to that, this NC State team and the culture that Dorn has created, we don't beat them like that. This team's not going to give up, no matter if it's Jack Chambers or not.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I don't think we blow them out.
You don't think what, Mumble Mouth? What'd you say?
I said I don't think we blow them out. There's no
right.
scenario in my head that's like, we're going to beat them by 24 points.
Well, I have two scores down. I'll quick flash them. Oh, you can't see them anyway. I have two scores down, but
no, good for you.
I haven't decided which one to go to. I can't make up my change.
You're going to wait for me.
I change my mind more than Dior Johnson. Okay, next up, Bobby. Bobby on Facebook.
Let's start that.
I'm going to go. Wait, you got me all messed up here. I'm going to go by their common foe, the UConn Huskies game. NC State and Syracuse both played them, and they both put up big numbers, and their defense was just as sticky. I predict Syracuse by 3, 34-31 in overtime. I like that. That's thinking, Bobby. I really do. Let's see. Anthony. And there's so many of these guys, and I really appreciate it. I just don't see the time where I can get to all of them. So I'm going to do my best. And that's a good problem to have, Joe, but a problem. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you talking right now is just wasting time. So.
You're quick. Anthony, Cuse 24-20. Schrader throws for 202 TDs. Tucker rushes for 85 and 1 touchdown. Okay. Very specific there.
I like them. Yeah.
Greg, without Leary, Cuse 30, NC State 24. With Leary, 34, NC State, Cuse 30.
Okay. See, I just don't, like we talked about earlier, I don't think that, I mean, I don't know. I guess we can only wait and see, but I think that sometimes, like, less is more, and I don't think it's going to come down to NC State's offense against our defense as much as the other way around.
What's happening with everything that I got going on with the YouTube thing and everything else that's up on my computer screen and the phone is that I'm scrolling like it works on my phone, and it just dawned on me, that's a great idea. A mouse for your phone? Don't tell me they have one already. Do they?
Stop it.
Is that unnecessary? Huh? Okay. Nick,
no,
depends.
But you just gave everyone your idea, so.
True. All 5 people that listen. None of those 5 are motivated. to do that. Nick, depends on if the starting QB is out or not. Yes, obviously. If it's the backup 24-10 Cuse, if it's the starting quarterback, Devin Leary, it's 24-21 Cuse. So he's got a Cuse scenario both ways. I like that. Alex, no offense to Cuse. I love them, but I feel we lose this game 27-23. We stay close, but defense gets gassed at the end of the game, giving up the game-winning score. Okay. All right. Switching gears here.
I'll talk to him.
Yeah, talk to Alex, will you? Please, for the love of Pete. All right, let's see here. My old reliable score when I have no clue what's going to happen. 27-24, Syracuse at No Blanchard 44. That's not a bad score. I actually don't mind that score at all. And Joe's disappeared, and that's fine. I think we're fine with that, right? Let's see. At Baptized by Fire 7, if Leary is out, Syracuse 31, NC State 3.
Wow.
I see the 3. I don't know.
You see the 3.
I mean, I could see a scenario where NC State
didn't even hold UConn to 3.
That's true. That's true.
Let's be honest with ourselves.
If Leary plays 23-10 Syracuse, he's got the Cuse winning either way. Why the point differential, you say? He explains himself. We're all anticipating. Leary is a better QB and will allow the Pack offense to hold the ball longer, given less chances for us to have the ball to score. Okay, that seems rational. Tucker rushes for 125 yards-ish.
Don't agree.
Do you want to elaborate?
No, if Jack Chambers plays, there's just going to overall be... Let's put it this way, all right? So last game, Jack Chambers played the last quarter and a half. Right, so Leary was in there for a half and a half of a quarter.
Correct.
At the end of the game, they ran the ball 46 times and they threw the ball 23 times. So, I mean, they're definitely going to open up. If Jack Chambers plays, he's obviously going to throw more than once. But at the end of the day, they're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to, run the clock, limit the possessions that we have. And, I mean, that's just going to be what it's going to be. So I don't know if I 100% agree with that. When Leary's in there, it's full bore. They ain't worried about running the clock or the opponents, how many possessions the opponents have. So,
okay. Great explanation. At Oil Cuse, 28-20. NC State is able to run the... Captain Patrick. NC State is... No, it says is able, but then I said, well, no, they're not. But he says they are. So NC State is able to run the ball, but can't pass without their QB. Tucker with 130 total yards. Garrett Schrader with 225 passing yards. By the way, the creeps over at NC State fan base have made their way into the Twitter thread, and I let Noah and Tony at Cuse Waterboy. I let them handle that for me. And why not? Okay. Speaking of the Cuse Waterboy, at Cuse Waterboy, SU 27, NC State 24. I like this score a lot. In fact, I have one very close to that. I still haven't decided what I'm going with yet, but I will by the time we finish this up, and it is time. Back and forth game with few lead changes in ties. Mob comes up big in this one, and Schmidt happens. So, I like that.
No, he thinks Schmidt's going to hit a game winner?
Yeah, what I don't need is another borderline heart attack like I had during the UVA game, right?
Or Purdue.
It was worse. The UVA game was worse for me. That was the nail biter for me. Purdue was too, but not as. There's more emotion in the UVA game for me than Purdue. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, you live in Virginia, so
that's true.
That makes sense.
It's just
to me. It was both. Both of them were. Just glad we won them.
I gotcha. Whatever. At Tribby's 1. Syracuse wins 23. I'm dyslexic. 23-17. If Leary plays, NC State wins 27-23. I like that everybody's thinking about this, and I appreciate that. But he ain't playing.
Yeah.
So gonna feel like a mirror match with two monster defenses and inconsistent offenses. I don't think our offense is that inconsistent. I would argue that. Hopefully,
look,
home field advantage makes the difference, and it will. What?
It definitely should. And, I mean, if Devin Leary doesn't play, then we definitely have the better offense.
Absolutely. I just don't think our offense is inconsistent. Do you? Inconsistent? I don't know. I disagree. Not this year. Huh?
It's not inconsistency as much as, like I said, I mean, after a little while, when you're doing the same stuff and teams are seeing the same things on film, then defenses can make the adjustment. So, like I said, that's what we saw with Virginia. That's what we saw with Purdue. And that's why I keep talking about how our offense has to continue to evolve and get our playmakers the ball in space and make it to where they can actually put points up on the board. And it just became difficult against those teams because of the film and because there were certain things that we just didn't, react to well. And this is what this bye week is about. Bye weeks can change the whole outcome of your season if you do it the right way. And when you're 5-0 and you're motivated to do it, then there's going to be different things. There's going to be different wrinkles. And that, to me, is going to be really what's going to be able to put us over the edge, to me personally, no matter which quarterback plays. Because even if Leary plays, let's be honest, he's not going to be 100%. He's not going to be able to throw as far as he can. He's not going to be able to have the accuracy. And that's why I say that it might just be better for them to play Jack Chambers. Even if Leary does play, I don't see him playing the whole game.
Well, I think NC State's banking on their defense anyway, first of all. Second of all, there's blood in the water if they put Leary in. He's not going to be 100%. And that could be very bad. I mean, you got a bye week, but why risk it? That's kind of...
Well, and that's why I alluded to earlier in the game, or in the podcast, I don't know what his injury designation is. I don't know if it's something that can get worse or not, because if it's just a pain tolerance thing, then they might just give it a go. Throw some type of, brace or something on there and have him try his best. But either way, Jack Chambers is going to play in this game.
Right. At Lenny PD, Sean Tucker, let's see, Syracuse 28, NC State 10. Sean Tucker finally gets some respect put on his name, and Gaston flies around like the ninja he is and scores at least twice. Let's go Orange. Okay. I mean,
I'll take that.
I like it. All right, last two. Let's do two more, and then we're going to hop into our picks. At BNags 1. Okay, whatever. No prediction as long as Cuse ends up with one more point than NC State. I'm good. Okay. We asked for predictions. I should proofread these. At John Deacon,
probably
16-10. Tucker had 2.9 and 2.3 yards per carry against Purdue and UVA at home. Just imagine what this state front will do. No way Schrader can convert much on third down and scramble with those linebackers. And John is an NC State fan. 16-10 State. And he's the troll. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's tough, because that's the one thing that I did kind of notice and see a little bit. I mean, Jordan Travis had over 100 yards rushing. That is one thing that I've seen that this NC State team does kind of struggle with, is kind of keeping running or dual threat quarterbacks out of getting their yardage. They seem to get their yardage when they play them. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think that Garrett Schrader is going to be able to get some yardage here. And, they got I think Shy Battle. I know they got a player, I think it's Shaheem Battle at corner, that is suspended for the first half because of a targeting call that was in the second half of the Florida State game. So I know they have a starter out on defense in the secondary because of that. I'm pretty sure it's Shaheem Battle. But, yeah, so, I mean, only time will tell. But
Josh Pierre-Lewis.
Josh Pierre-Lewis, what?
He's out serving an indefinite suspension from the team. Is that who you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about Shaheem Battle, who got a targeting call in the second half against Florida State. So he got kicked out of the game. So he has to sit out of the first half of this game. So you're missing a starter at corner, so maybe we can take advantage of that in the first half to get some mismatches and get some points on the board. Never know.
Okay. All right. Well,
it might be low hanging fruit there, but I mean,
yeah. Well, always grab low hanging fruit. Okay. It's time to pick, Joe. So you actually won. I'm trying to keep up with the Spotify Live chat room, and it's impossible. But I do know someone made fun of my education. Oh, of course. It's Syracuse Waterball. My education at OESM. Yes. Let me tell you, 25 years ago, graduating high school was a breeze. There was no criteria put in place for children like
Tony.
me. Tony,
first off, you have to understand that his girlfriend did his homework.
Facts.
He didn't actually.
I didn't even pass.
Do all this.
I didn't even pass ESM. I didn't even graduate. My wife graduated twice. My then girlfriend, now wife, graduated.
So I
twice.
think that explains a lot.
Correct. And how hard is homework? Well, first of all, we didn't have devices and things. We had what was called
tough when you're never home.
Encyclopedia. That too. Plus, my mom would have been the last one in the district to get Wi-Fi. Trust me. Okay. Back on track. Let's revisit what we came here for, Joe, and that's to talk about your win last week. Good job. We have decided to do this a little bit different next year, but it doesn't matter right now. Maybe
How did I win?
You had a difference of 7. I had a difference of 11. So I knew I was a little high on my score,
but it was 2 weeks, right?
It was 2 weeks ago. What did I say?
No, last week.
Whatever. The last week we played. Okay. So I'm 2-3. You're 3-2, and we're coming into this NC State game. It is up to you, Joe, because of the win, whether or not you would like to receive or defer. What would you like to do? Okay, Joe's going to receive.
I will receive,
okay.
And only because I know that you already have 2 scores down, so I'm going to make it easy for you.
Okay.
And I want to hear you hemming and hawing about which one you're going to pick, because I know that whatever I pick is basically going to make it easy for you. No.
Hold on. No, serious note. If you pick one, because I was thinking about this earlier, I'm like, there's a good chance Joe picks one of these scores I have written down. If you do, then I'm taking it too. Go ahead.
Then you're taking. Why? Because I did last time.
Because then we have a tie, and this thing doesn't have to. We don't have to worry about going into the bowl game as a juggernaut. We're gonna know.
Yeah. Well, look, NC State definitely. I mean, I think they played a better schedule than us. I don't know how good Texas Tech is, but overall, this Clemson and Florida State the last 2 weeks has definitely given them, a tougher schedule. And obviously, losing to Clemson, I'm not going to bang them for it. But at the same time, that's the exact reason why I'm going to pick Syracuse, is the fact that how tough the last 2 weeks were. Everything we talked about last week and them going in. And like I said, I don't wish any ill will or injuries towards anybody. But kind of what I wanted to happen in that Florida State game is exactly what happened. And, I've listened to Locked On talking to, one of the guys there talking about how, they'd feel like, if we beat NC State without Devin Leary, then, the naysayers or whoever will be like, I don't care. I don't care. You got to line up no matter what, right? How many games has it been we have Eric Dungy, and now all of a sudden, nope, it's Zach Mahoney. And these other teams don't give a crap about beating the crap out of us.
No.
So a win's a win's a win. I want 6. I want 6 this week. I don't want to worry about it anymore. And I think we're going to get it just because of the timing of our bye week, which I didn't like. And even Dino Babers, he admitted he didn't like in the beginning of the season. But because of the way that the first 5 games laid out, it's a perfect time to have this bye. And I think we're going to get it. And I think we're going to get it by way of 27-17. It's going to be low scoring. I think the over is 44 and a half in Vegas. And right now, I think we opened up as a 5.5 point favorite. Right now, we're about a 3.5. But nonetheless, that's the score.
Nonetheless, that's the score. Words of wisdom. Joe. Okay. You didn't pick my score, but you were close. Wait, what did you say? I forgot to write it down.
27. Syracuse 27. NC State 17.
All right, 27-17 Cuse. Okay. So, I'm with you. I don't give a crap who the quarterback is. I don't care if it's a backup and their fans want to use that as an excuse.
Screw that. How many times do we have a walk-on? Screw it.
Oh, I know. Just coming into this game, knowing what I already knew about NC State, which wasn't a ton, but the only thing I was worried about is this defense. And I'm still worried about this defense.
Should be.
Syracuse's offense versus NC State's defense, I feel like is where the game is going to be. Regardless of not Devin Leary plays or Jack Chamber plays, I don't think it matters. I'm not worried about our defense playing this NC State offense, regardless of who's quarterback. They haven't put up a ton of points. Did we go over the stats, or did we just do that when we were talking on the phone?
No, we did.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
we've been hitting it.
Okay. So I'm not super worried about it. Their offense. So with that said, look, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. My score is a little bit lower than yours. I think it's going to be close. I like Waterboy's Schmidt happens, and I don't usually pick that too often because I definitely haven't this year. But how awesome would it be to go 6-0 and head to Clemson and then Notre Dame? Now, with the next 3 games coming up, I feel like, in my humble opinion, and we can agree to disagree or whatever, but I think NC State's the best shot at a win out of these next 3. And to just go 6-0, bowl eligible, first 6 games of the season, huge crowd. Mm-hmm. The crowd's going to play a huge role for.
They need to.
They will. I don't think there's any question. The only thing is, so look, here's the thing. Here's what those players got going for them is that defense is going to get this crowd stomping their feet. And it's going to be hectic as hell. Jack Chambers is never going to, he may never play in an environment like this again. I don't know who they play off their bye week if Leary's not in, but this is not a great environment for a Jack Chambers to walk into as his first start for NC State. It's just not.
True.
It's terrible.
True.
It's a terrible situation. So with the crowd, with everything we got going on, the hype around this thing, I got Syracuse. Long story short, long story long. 24-21, Syracuse. Schmidt happens. And look, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough to score points. And I could be totally wrong about that, but I feel like it's going to be tough. And here's the other thing. Win or not, we cannot afford injuries anymore. Got to be extremely careful. And this offensive line has got to be on their A game for sure. And Schrader needs to be smart. He needs to be very smart.
I think this is a redemption game for him, man. Honestly, I really do. He didn't play a good game. Tucker got over 100 last year, but they were beating us pretty early, so I don't know. I'm not really too worried about that. But when you look at that, 6-0. You got to get it right now. It's perfect situation. Like you said, they could easily just run it and everything. But I don't even see with Leary, with this defense, with this crowd, with everything. This offense, like you said, has been underwhelming. It's been underwhelming. So we need to figure it out on offense, and I think that Schrader and those guys will. And on top of that, our defense has shown that we can score points. Jack Chambers he's shown that he can throw interceptions. They're not going to be able to run the ball every single time if he's going to be the starter, right? So we've scored a touchdown the last 2 games, correct?
Defensive touchdown the last 2 games.
2 out of 3.
UVA and
2 out of 3.
Purdue?
No, not UVA.
Purdue,
no, Wagner.
Purdue and Wagner. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 out of 3. Our defense, and when you look at special teams, Look, NC State is solid all around. Their defense is good. Their special teams is good. Their kicker has not missed a kick this year, and he's probably the reason why I think Dave Dorn, he donned him the MVP of Florida State. He had a 53-yarder. I think he hit four field goals. They got a solid special teams. They have a solid team overall. So they're not just going to lay down, but I just think that they're beat up. I think they wish they had the bye that we did. And as long as we don't come in and, start slow and make it to – let's be honest. They've been talking about Dino Babers' record off of a bye week. Not great. I think we only have 2 wins off of bye weeks in Dino Babers' tenure. So there's that they're talking about. But at the end of the day, we need to start fast. We should be able to implement stuff that NC State has never seen. They're beat up. They don't have a starting corner because he's out the first half. We need to get out and get in front early. And I think if we get to 24, I don't think that NC State can score that.
Yeah, that's it. You're right. Absolutely. It's going to be low scoring, but whoever scores the most points is going to win. It's a brilliant point.
John,
I'm just playing. But that is a good point.
I think that's like about 24, the mark, right?
Yeah, I think that's tough. That's going to be extremely tough for NC State to get that many points. So if we could start,
we talked about it. We've only given up 70 points. That's 14 points a game. Now, granted, we have the Wagner in the UConn, but they have the Charleston Southern in the UConn, and they're not the same. So who's to say that our defense? We had a fan feedback that said they think that our defense is better.
Right.
Who's to say our defense isn't? We don't know.
That's true. It's tough. We're going to find out. All right. From the Spotify live app, straight out of the green room, Matt, are you there? Hello.
Sorry,
there he is. He had to unmute. Yes, always unmute. What's going on, Matt? How you doing?
Oh, not much. So I was thinking, if you guys remember before the season started, Deuce Chestnut said that he thought that they were top 10. If you look right now, Syracuse is top 10 in total defense nationally.
Yeah. One less game, though, than many of those other teams, though. But right.
Yeah. So, if you look at NC State, they're currently 17th in total defense. But I believe that total defense goes by your average yards given up per game, doesn't it?
I thought it was total, is it not? That's a good question.
I think it's average.
I actually have it.
This is what I talked about last podcast.
Is it, Joe?
Because I talked about how we give yards away, but we bend but don't break. It's all about the points, not the yards.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So right now we're top 10 in total defense, and they're 17th. And I listened to some national podcasts where they were actually talking about they think that NC State's defense is probably the best unit in the game. They have a really good defense. They didn't say they think that NC State would win, but they said they could win, which I think is pretty fair. Also, Jack Chambers, I'm not that impressed with him.
God, no.
Some of the people that I've talked to said that he can sling it, but there's a reason that he walked on at NC State. I believe that last year was his best year at Charleston Southern, and he was like a 55% completion percentage, 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. There's a reason that he walked on. So I just don't think that he's going to be able to hurt us with his legs. I think that we're going to be able to load the box against him. You load the box and put Deuce and you put Garrett out on an island, I'm going to take that matchup against Jack Chambers. It's just the way it is. If you look at how good we are against rushing quarterbacks, look no further than Malik Cunningham. He had 34 yards against us. His only other game where he had less than 100 yards was the one that he got hurt in. Every other game he's had over 100 yards rushing. And it was the same way last year. Last year he had 24 yards against us. So, we have a really good spy game. I think Mikkel is probably one of the best spy backers in the entire country. because he's so fast, so athletic. He might be a little bit undersized, but he tackles everything. And if you can hold down a guy like Malik Cunningham, Chambers is not going to be that big of a deal running the football, I don't think.
I'm right there with you. I don't think Chambers is much of a threat at all. All I would say caution against is to just look past the guy if you're on defense.
Well, you don't want to look past
in their run game. NC State's run game, with the exception of Chambers, is not great.
That's because, like what I told you, with Devin Leary, they were just chucking the ball all the time because they have uber confidence in this guy. But when you look at it, I think it comes down to, can their offensive line dominate our defensive line? Can they bring in a 12 personnel, change their offense that what they've been running for the past 6 games, and put in 2 tight ends with their offensive line and just run it down our throat and just make it boring as hell? And that's the one thing that I worry about.
I don't worry about that as much because I think they're going to load the box. I think that they're going to have Deuce and they're going to have Williams one-on-one. Williams is one-on-one almost every game anyway, not in a zone. So he's out on an island by himself anyway. Deuce usually has a little bit of help, but he's more inclined to try to take chances to create an opportunity for a turnover, And Garrett just kind of, like, he doesn't take those chances. He just puts himself in good spots. Like, he's not going to jump routes. So I think that if we load the box, like, there's no reason not to if Chambers is there.
Nope. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely right. I'm right there with you. It's something they're going to have to do. I mean, they might not do it right off the jump, but if NC State starts breaking some runs, then I can see it coming down to just, like you said, man on man, you're on an island. And I like our chances if you're talking about Jack Chambers' accuracy. I'm talking about a D1 AA level, 55%. It's his best percent. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sold.
If he's got to rely on his arm, he's getting picked off at some point. I mean, it is a good. I mean, which, if it comes down to that. So, Matt, thanks a lot, buddy. Don't be a stranger, dude. We appreciate you. Always insightful on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
And in the green room. We appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So, yeah, that's some great points. Some great points. He hit on a couple of things you said before we went live, too. So, excellent stuff.
He did.
So, all right. Well, I'm ready. I'm excited to a 3:30 start is just okay. We got snubbed by College Game Day, right? They're going back to Tennessee or someplace.
That was well. Look, Tennessee is hosting Alabama, and Tennessee hasn't been that great. They're 4-0, ranked 4th. We're not going to beat that. So,
yeah, that's a tough. That's just didn't fall on a great week.
No, I mean it's all about timing, right? That's life, all about timing.
Yeah, I talk about all the pressure that we were talking about. You add that into the mix, and man, I just don't know. So, Matt, by the way, that you just heard there, trying to, what do you want to say?
I don't know. What do you want to say?
Trying to get Barstool to do their pregame show at the Dome. So, I don't know if he's got any responses. I'm surprised he didn't mention it, but you know how they are. All right. Well, look, that is going to just about do it for us.
Big game, bro. Big Saturday.
Big game, big Saturday. Can't wait. Going to be pretty excited for it. Going to be live doing the tweet thing. Joe doing the Facebook thing. Still in charge.
No. Yeah, dude.
Oh,
what do you mean?
Dude,
what do you mean?
Guy, I swear to God. I swear. Hold the phone, folks. Hold the phone.
Hold the phone. Let me guess. Michael.
No. Give you one more guess.
Dominic.
From the Spotify Live green room, it's Dominic. What's up? We're just you come a day late and $1 short once again, but we're gonna let you speak now or forever hold yourself. What do you got?
All right, I told you last time that I was gonna have the story about the kid on my route who my son grew up playing baseball against, who plays football for NC State. Remember?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So the week that Anai and Beck they were hired, I ran into Michael's dad outside his house when he was delivering his mail. And I said, hey, Mr. Allen, didn't Michael get recruited by Virginia too? He goes, yeah. And I told him that, Syracuse, they hired Coach Anai and Coach Beck. And he stopped what he was doing and he turned back around to me and he goes, are you kidding? And I'm like, no. He goes, oh, Michael almost chose Virginia over NC State because of Anai's offense. And, I'm thinking, I don't get to see much college football other than what I listened to with Syracuse. So I didn't know what Virginia was doing, to be quite honest. And he said, this is what he said. He goes, Anai will take what players they recruit. He recruits athletes and he builds his offense around what he has. And he goes, he's going to do a lot with Syracuse's offense. You're going to really, really enjoy having him and watching what he does he goes, 1 year you may run 70%, 1 year you may throw 70%, but it all has to do with the personnel that he has around. And so this week against NC State, the Allen family, they're going up to the Cuse. I gave him a list of restaurants to go to, and it's kind of like a little fun rivalry here and there. But he's a freshman. He probably won't play, but he was a 4-star running back out of Rose High School here in Greenville. So we'll eventually get to see him unless he transfers, which I doubt. But we'll see.
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. We'll be on the lookout. They might need him.
And we've seen that too. We've seen that though. With this offensive coordinator and the coach and everything, they've gone 1 year they're passing, the other year they're running. They've turned dual threat quarterbacks that people didn't think that were going to be able to be in the NFL. Now they're NFL players. So, I mean, it's a great story because I can only really believe what I see, and I mean that kind of sounds like truth there, and that's why I kind of have a little bit of I'm positive in the fact that, like I said previously, which wasn't live, but that there's no doubt these coaches and Jason Beck and Robert and they got together. They figured out what has been working in the first 5 games, what hasn't, and what do we need to do to throw in some different wrinkles. So I definitely expect to see something different against NC State. Obviously not what has been working, but they're definitely going to have some different little things in there and wrinkles that I don't think NC State's going to be able to see on tape at this point.
You know what? This is what I was thinking, and I heard somebody somewhere say on some Syracuse that like the Purdue and the Virginia game, the play calling was actually like doing a rewatch and like it may have been Noons, that it seemed super vanilla. Like the play calling, especially in those 2 games, like they did not open the book. Like was like Babers and Anai being like a mad genius. No, we could win this game. Let's not do anything we don't have to do on tape and save it for when we are in the heart of our conference play. And I mean that seems hard for me to think that because Purdue and especially Purdue is a really good team, but Babers is also so very close to the vest. I know it sounds crazy, but
you don't know
doing that.
you don't know, and that's the thing that's the optimist way of thinking about it. The pessimist way of thinking about it is that
their play calling is terrible.
That the play calling it hasn't changed, and that those 2 defenses just saw what they saw on tape and they implemented it, and we didn't do as well. So you don't really ever know, right?
Effort in Tucker rushing up the middle this year, where last year it seemed like Syracuse was doing more of a zone blocking scheme, trying to get him to the outside, him finding a hole and taking advantage of a first step to get away from that first and second levels of defense. And this year they haven't done that. And I've thought to myself, is this what Anai does? But have they tried to get on tape? Well, Syracuse, they're just trying to, establish the run up the middle. And now in the heart of they're going to go back to that. Are they going to go back to that? Because it seemed like almost like they were doing that a little bit with Wagner. You know what I mean? It seemed like they were doing a little bit more outside running than I saw them for the other 4 games.
It was almost like a little practice scrimmage, right?
Yeah, it was totally. They were just trying a couple of things because they don't ever do that.
And to what we've been talking about, like, we can see the difference in coaches. We can see that the receiver coaches that came in and the special teams coach and Jason Beck and Robert and I, we can see the difference. We already know Tony White's a great defensive coordinator. So Nick Monroe, great D-back coach, great recruiter. We know all this, and where we are now is, I mean, obviously it's a credit to the kids and all the hard work they put in, but a lot to me is the coaching. And if the coaching is as good as they are, then they're going to make those adjustments and they're going to come out of this bye week and we're going to see some, again, word of the day, word of the month, word of the year evolution of this team.
Yep,
needs to happen. If we want to be where we are and we want to continually for this year be looked at as a legitimate contender, we have to evolve.
Yep. Yeah, I thought 6-6, so I thought you're going to have to be 4-1 at the gate to get 6-6, and so now, and I'm like, okay, so now they're 7-5. Now it's kind of I've been predicting this a win the whole time, so I can't say, oh, you beat NC State, you're going to be 8-4. If they win this game, to me, they're still it's still a possible 7-5 team. I just thought with Anai going into the bye week, you're gonna have 2 whole weeks. Okay, let's run some game plan. What we're gonna do against Wagner, of what we want to do against NC State. I felt confident about this game since the season started, and not because of Babers, because his record is terrible after the bye. But Anai at Virginia, I think, was 3-3. Which, I mean, most teams, I think, are 3-3 coming out of the bye, unless you're Alabama or Georgia or something. You know what I mean? So it's these middle of the road college football teams. They're not all perfect coming out of the bye week. They're really not, unless you're.
Hey, look.
Yeah.
Look at the Fighting DeVitos. They're 5-1. They're ranked.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, look. This is what I want, Dom. I want this game. This week, give me the 6, so I can stop worrying about it. Because I'm not going to raise the expectations. We don't know what this team looks like after 3 weeks of NC State, Clemson, and Notre Dame, right? So let's get this 6.
And Joe, we're here in North Carolina. We have to live with these people,
NC State fans,
for the rest of the year.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get this 6. Let's get the bowl game. Let's get the bowl game, and then let's see where we are after Clemson and Notre Dame. That's where I'm at.
All right, Dom. Before we let you go, hold on. What do you got now? What does he have now? What do you got now, Dom? Go ahead.
No, I'm just like this. I want this game more than anyone during the year. If I get to that weight game, which I should, of course I want to finally. I've never seen a Syracuse win in person. Never in my life. The 3 games I've been to, or 4 games, 3 games. So of course I want them to win when I go. But for my livings, from where I live and the amount of NC State fans that are friends of mine at church and everything, this is the one I want, more so than any other one the rest of the year. So, yep.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Dom. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. What were you going to ask me?
Don't be how do you like the new mob logo? We haven't talked about the mob logo. That was a long time in the making, by the way. It took forever to do. But
do you do that?
No, I wish I could take credit for that. I designed it, but I did not do it.
As an Italian, born in Syracuse, raised in Hudson County, New Jersey, and lived in Essex County where they filmed The Sopranos, I felt very connected and I loved it. That was like, wow, I feel that. Like the cigar, everything. It was beautiful. The bowler hat. That was like I actually, my first thought was, how does he not get sued by Syracuse for this? Because
because why? Because I used the emblem.
Too damn good.
Oh right? Yeah, it's not me. It's not me. There's a man behind the scenes, and he does a great job. But
are you paying Syracuse something to use an Otto-like character?
Hell no. Hell no. I ain't giving them nothing.
All right, because I have heard when the times I've listened to like Cuse Nation and stuff, if you have not paid the school for rights, they are notorious for coming after small, like even the I don't even, because I do it on internet radio. I don't even know what the call numbers are or anything, but like they've gone after Orange Nation for stuff that looks too Syracusey on their website.
Well, it looks very Syracusey. I think all of our stuff. We've made Otto chug beer.
Yeah,
we've made Otto smoke cigars. Ride a tank.
Oh, I love the tank one, man. That was great.
That one I did.
I remember when that. Yeah,
that one I did. That's about as far as my skills went, and I was like, you know what? This took way too long. I think I'll pay someone from here on out, and so that's what I started doing. So all of the really good logos were not me. I had them designed. I designed them, told them what I wanted, and man, I'll tell you what. The Mob one that just came out was the only one that I had that did not require a revision. Like I wasn't like, hey man, can you change this and this? No, it came out perfect. I was like, let's roll with it. Awesome.
The nanosecond I saw that, I looked up all 3 members of the Mob podcast and I tweeted it out.
I know. I appreciate that.
You guys got to see this. Like,
dude.
I was like, dude, like even if they wanted to use, like you got to let them use that if they want to sell it on their shirt or something, because it is so good.
They can do it. They can do whatever the hell they want with it.
Yeah, they absolutely can. And hey, yo, shout out to that damn Mob podcast, by the way, because I'll tell you what, episode 4 with Donnie McPherson.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Yes. Great. Dude, the history, and you know, not to be political or anything, but
but I will anyway.
Right. Well, it's not meant to be political. It's not. But
it's not.
I agree with everything he said about the way that society looked at the black quarterback in the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? And for him to drop like the history of the black quarterback at Syracuse, dude, I had no idea. That's to me, as someone that I wish that like our whole society and culture didn't give a darn about color anymore, both sides, because that's you know how some people may take it politically or not.
But it's more than two now.
That's not really a political statement. That's a human statement.
It's not a political statement. There's a whole bunch of different, and they all got to get over it. Yep, you're right.
Right. I think it is awesome to know that like the first black quarterback went to Syracuse in the 30s, and he was a Tuskegee Airman and died in World War II.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, dude, that is freaking awesome. Why is he not in the Ring of Honor?
Like, no, Andy played basketball. His basketball jersey's retired in the Dome, and you know, Don McPherson, he shared some stories and dropped some knowledge about, you know, they were asking like, you know, what did you guys do to become, you know, an undefeated team that year? And the stories and everything like that, it's just super entertaining. And I'm not gonna just, you know, tell everything here, but you know, go watch it, man. Go watch it. Go listen to it. It's great.
Yep.
Dom, thanks a lot, my guy. Okay, don't be a stranger. Try to come on a little earlier next time. You extended the podcast by like 15 minutes, which is always great for some people, but for me, it's like so close to my bedtime. So I appreciate
the Yankee game with my kids.
There you go.
Then,
go
my
Yanks.
Wife said, can you please go out to the store for me? So when I picked up my phone to head out to Walgreens, I saw that it was on. I'm like, oh, let me see if I missed it. And they're like, no, it's probably the last few seconds. And I remember,
and it was.
I told him I was going to tell him the story about Michael Allen, and then there you go. So that's what happened.
Good story. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, Dom. All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. All right. No, seriously, this time that's got to do it. That's got to do it. I'm happy we got that in, actually. Ended up being pretty damn good.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dominic, for all of that. And Cuse Water Boy tells me to quit whining. Look, 5 o'clock comes early, man. 5 o'clock comes early. So, look, we appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of you. Thanks for hanging out. Glad to be back. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.